It's part of what I like to call your secret sauce, the thing you feel sets you apart and makes you unique. It seems like with the podcast, you want to try to highlight that story, the journey, and those things that people sometimes don't see or hear or know about. And it almost feels like you're bringing a connection that we sometimes don't appreciate or maybe even pay attention to by the guests that are on the show, and I imagine the listeners as well too. Do you think that's part of that secret sauce?
Yeah, and basically, I just want to give a platform for people to speak on. So I don't mind what anyone wants to come and speak about. Here's a platform. Here's the opportunity for you to do it. Obviously, people need to be respectful and stuff like that. So I'm not going to open the floodgates to anyone who wants to come on and just spout a load of rubbish, really. You've got to have substance behind what you want to come on and speak about. But the platform's there. If you want it, take it. I've spoke to magicians. I've spoke to ex-drug addicts. I've spoke to ex-gang members. I've spoke to you guys. I've spoke to someone who wrote a book on Amazon. I spoke to another person whose goal is to write 86 books by the age of 86, and I think he's on book number 2. He's about 40 years old. I spoke to a barber, a hairdresser who set up a bricks and mortar store, and he was then moving into the online stuff. But like I said, I'm open. Anyone wants to reach out, wants to come on and share their story, this is the platform to do it on.
Yeah, absolutely. And so wanted to switch gears a little bit and ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an Apple book or even a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
I honestly think it's the people around you. So when I was the behaviour lead at the school I worked at, the people I had around me is what helped make the school successful in behaviour. And also, I think as a leader or a management team, you've got to show people, you've got to earn their respect by showing them that you're willing to do what you're asking them to. So the fact of the matter is, the fact that I was in the front line when someone had the knives and they had the knives in my face and other people saw that, when I then asked them to go and deal with a situation, they were more than happy to do that because, see, I was willing to do that. And what I find, especially in a school environment, a lot of head teachers or head of schools and stuff sit in their office and they pass down emails. And it then upsets the staff because it thinks you come on the floor and do that. Where if you work your way, so I started off as a teaching assistant, then I went to a tutor, then I went to a media coordinator, then I went to a behaviour lead. People said I worked my way through the floor. So therefore, showed that I was willing. And I always had good people around me for that. And then it's also, even though you was management, go and find someone that can help. So like I said, I'm dyspraxic. So whenever I had a presentation I needed to deliver to staff, I would have a colleague check my presentation to make sure spelling and stuff was right. And they did that off their own back. And they didn't want nothing for it and all that because they had the respect when I asked them, because if they didn't needed to ask me a favour, so it's down that line. So yeah, and know the cleaner's name, know the person who collects the bins, knows the person who's feeding you at lunchtime and stuff like that. Make sure you know because we're all cogs in the wheel of a company. And I always find with CEOs or management, you've got to remember, you've got to give a service to your staff, because for you to succeed, you need them to succeed. And for them to succeed, you need to offer them a good working environment. So if you're not going to offer that, then you're not going to have people that want to work for you that are happy. And if they're not happy, you're not going to succeed. So my biggest hack is make sure you surround yourself with good people, but make sure you earn the respect of the people that you're working with.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are huge hacks, and I appreciate you sharing that. About, let me ask you this: what would be what I would call a CEO nugget? A little bit more word of wisdom or piece of advice. I usually say it might be something you would tell somebody that's hoping to do a podcast, or potentially you would hop into a time machine and might tell your younger business self.
When you get the idea, just go for it. Don't let fear of not starting hold you back, because we're always improving in life. Every day we're making improvements, but you have to start it to improve it. So don't just have the idea and sit on the idea. Have the idea and go for it. If it works out, fantastic. If it doesn't, pivot and you'll be able to do something else. But at least you've got the beginning of something. Like you said a minute ago, you've got your first step. So take that first step would be my little nugget.
Yeah, I love that nugget. And so many times we're thinking about how to optimize, how to improve, how to do all these things to get better, to get to our goals. But we forget, like, the most important part is you have to have something to start. You have to have that first step to be able to optimize it, to make it better, to evaluate, to all those things. But we don't take that first step. We don't head and get the ball rolling. Then you can't continue to take those steps from there. So absolutely appreciate that nugget. And I want to ask you now my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And our goal is to have different quote unquote CEOs on this show. So, Lee, what does being a CEO mean to you?
I just think being a CEO is just, I don't know, it's a really hard question because I personally don't like the term CEO because I feel like you're building barriers up against people, and I like the word community. So I think it's be a strong leader of a community would be a good definition of a CEO.
Nice. I love that definition and perspective, and so much so because it gets back to what we've been talking about, the human part of business and understanding the people within the business or the people within the organization. And I think it also, to me, speaks to, because when you're talking about community, you're talking about usually people that have a common something that's linking them all together, or a common cause, or something that they're driving with. So I feel like it taps into that, but on a deeper level, it also taps into the CEO, leader, founder, organizer, leader, manager, whatever title it might be. At the end of the day, we're helping people to get to where they want to be and helping to make the world a better place.
100%.
Awesome. Lee, truly appreciate that definition. Of course, I appreciate your time.